Oxford Progressive English Book 6, and in this lesson we are going to cover unit number 5, Sights and Sounds, from page number 107 to 115. Your books at page number 107. Read the topic, Reading for Comparison, Poetry and Fiction. Poetry and fiction are two different types of writing, and we will read two different types of writing here. First we will read a poem, then we will read prose or a short story, that is fiction. The basic difference between a poem and short story is the poem is written in verses or stanzas, and it focuses on rhyming scheme, whereas short stories are written in complete sentences and they focus on plot, characters, settings, and short stories are written in paragraphs. Let us start reading. The first poem is A Blind Man. In this poem, the poet John Lehman describes the feelings of a blind man who is walking through the woods or walking through the forest in the autumn season. This poem describes the picture of autumn season in which the leaves turn green, then bright red, and then yellow, and the leaves fall from the tree. It also describes the days of the autumn and the damp and cold atmosphere of the autumn. But a blind man, as we all know, cannot see any color, cannot see anything, but he can feel many things through his senses. This is a common knowledge. If a man is deprived of any sense from the six senses, his all other senses get more sharpened than a normal human being. There are 4 stanzas in this poem, and each stanza has 4 verses. The first stanza is, A blind man in the forest lanes feels with his stick the way to go. October's falling sunlight stands, and deeper red the leaves below. In this stanza, the rhyming words are lanes, stands. They have identical sounds. They are rhyming. And the way to go and below, to go below. Both these words also have same rhyming scheme. This stanza describes that in the forest lands, in the streets of forest, the blind man feels his way with his stick. He cannot see his way, but he feels his way, feels his path. And as it is autumn season, so leaves have turned red. He does not see the squirrel leap from branch to branch above his head. The leaf that joins the wrinkled heap the squirrel's springing feet have shed. In second stanza, leap, heap, head and shed are the rhyming words. This stanza describes that the blind man cannot see the squirrel leaping over his head, leaping above his head from branch to branch. And also he cannot see the heap of leaves that the squirrels have shed while jumping from one branch to other branch. Yet in his shuttered, hueless room, whose single season has no day, the images of autumn come with scent of nature's moist decay. The third stanza has day and decay. These are rhyming words. In this stanza, the poet says that the room of the blind man is colorless, and there is always a single day in his room because as he is blind, he cannot see any season, any color. That is why his room is colorless and there is always a single season in his room. But when the autumn comes and everything starts decaying in the moist environment, the blind man can feel the scent of decaying things, and he with quickened thought divines the sun-fired alleys miles around, the beeches in their burning lines, the drift of embers to the ground. Last stanza, the poet tells us that the blind man can, with his sharp thinking, with his sharp sense, he can imagine the he can imagine the valleys that are sun-fired. Sun-fired here means that have turned yellowish and red because of autumn, and with the sunlight they have turned into the color of fire. And he can also imagine the beaches, they have turned red. Beaches are the green trees. When the autumn comes, they turn red and golden. And the blind man can also feel their color, the drift of embers to the ground. Ember is a small piece of burning coal or burning wood, and drift of ember to the ground means in the autumn season everything becomes red, seems burning. So the blind man cannot see anything, but he can feel all these things with his sharp sense. Page number 108. Reading for detail. Write these questions and answers on your notebook and also learn them. Question number 1 is, how does the blind man find his way? He finds his way with his stick. He feels it with his stick. Number 2, what is happening in the forest that he cannot see? He cannot see the squirrel leap and heap of leaves. Question number 3, hue means color. Why is the blind man's room hueless? What hue he did not see in the forest? Because he cannot see any color, he did not see the hue of autumn season. Number 4, why is there only a single season in the blind man's room? A blind man cannot see the changing colors with seasons. That's why there is always a single season in his room. Question number 5. Although the blind man cannot see the signs of autumn, he still experiences them. How does he do that? He smells the autumn moist and decaying scent. Question number 6. Beeches or forest trees which turn gold in autumn. Which two phrases in the last verse suggest the color of gold? Describe the picture which the phrases paint in your imagination. The phrases the sun-fired alleys and the beaches in their burning lines represent golden imagery. These phrases paint the image of autumn in my mind. These are the question and answers. Write them and also learn them. It was poetry. Now we will read fiction. The Blind Beggar Woman. You're going to read it yourself and then come here to solve the exercises. First exercise is vocabulary exercise. Find the words in the text which match these definitions. I have solved them and I will also discuss them. But first you have to do the reading. The words are lying down. And the word we have read in the text is recumbent. Porch is portico. Afternoon rest is siesta. Like a wild animal, feral. Nobly, gnawed. Bush, thicket, without focusing vacantly. Write these words on your book and also learn them. Then we will move to exercise reading for understanding at page number 110. Question number 1 is, where is the blind woman? She is under the arch of a portico. Number 2, what does she look like? She looks like wild, inhuman creature. Number 3, why is her palm laying upward? Her palm lies upward for begging. Number 4, why is the old woman's hand on the little girl's shoulder? Because she is weak and her hand is on the girl's shoulder to get aid or assistance. Number 5, what sound can be heard? The sound of wailing of a kite can be heard. Next lesson is Odyssey. Odyssey was a brave man. He was a fighter, and returning from one battle, he was warned by one of his goddess, that was Ceres. She warned him of the dangers of sirens. Sirens was a creature, an evil creature. The sirens were half bird and half woman. The goddess warned Odyssey that their voices are beautiful and they attract the people with their voices and they kill them and eat them. So the next day Odyssey with his men started sailing and they had to cross the island of Sirens. How did he protect his men? What happened when they crossed the island of Sirens? To know the story, start reading, and then at the end of story, come to exercise reading for understanding. Write these question answers on your notebook and learn them. The questions are: what did the goddesses warn Odyssey about? The goddesses warned Odyssey about the danger of Sirens' music. What did Odysseus do with a large piece of beeswax, and why did he do this? He cut the large piece of beeswax into small pieces and he made it soft and filled the ears of his men so that they could not hear the sound of the sirens. Number 3. How can you tell that Odysseus was not sure whether he was strong enough to resist the sirens' music? When he asked his men to tie him to the mast, it shows he was not sure about his strength. What happened when Odysseus heard the music? He was filled with the longings to follow it. Who were the victors and who were the losers in this story? Odysseus and his men were victors and the sirens were losers. Write these question answers in your notebook, learn them, and then move to next exercise at page number 114. Match the words to their definitions. The words are given and the definitions are also given, but we have to match them, join them. The exercise is solved here. Do it on your book. 1. Advice of danger. Calm, smooth. Longing, strong desire. Mast, vertical sports for sail. Deaf, unable to hear. Fade, become less. So learn these words and their meanings. Next thing that you need to learn how to do is use the word in sentences. You have learned many ways of using the words in sentences. You can make any type of sentence for these words, but when you are given words to make sentences from them, you have to make sentences in such a way that the meanings of the word is cleared from the sentence. Let us discuss these sentences. 1. Warn means advice of danger. The sentence is, please warn us if that happens. The meaning is cleared. Somebody is asking other to advise them of any danger. Calm, smooth, without any disturbance. The night was calm and fresh. Longing, desire. The poor zebra is longing for a life in the wild. The poor zebra is desiring for a life in the wild. Mast, that is the sport that people use in their boats or in their sails. Odysseus was tied to a mast. Deaf, who cannot hear. Poor boy is blind and deaf and dumb. Somebody who is blind and deaf is called dumb. Fade, vanish slowly or disappear slowly. The scene faded quickly into the background. The scene disappeared into the background. So make the sentences in such a way that the meanings of the words are clear from the sentence. This was all from today's lesson. Take very good care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.